I never imagined a simple flu would be the spark that set my entire life ablaze. That day, feeling feverish and drained, I left work early, desperate to crawl into bed and rest. But stepping into my house felt like walking into a different world, one I didn't recognize. There was a truck parked in front of my house that I'd never seen before. A cold chill ran down my spine, and not from the fever. Still, I convinced myself I was overthinking and made my way inside. The silence that greeted me wasn't comforting. It was eerie. I called out for my wife, Beth. No answer. Just quiet, too quiet. As I moved toward the bedroom, I heard sounds I wish I could forget. Rhythmic, unmistakable sounds. My heart started racing. I didn't want to believe what I was hearing, but some part of me already knew. I crept forward, each step feeling heavier than the last, until I reached the door that had been left slightly open. I peeked in, and there she was, Beth, in bed, with someone else. The pain hit me like a freight train. I felt like the air had been ripped from my lungs. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a complete erasure of everything I thought we were. The foundation of 2 decades together crumbled right there before my eyes. She was moaning his name. Her body moved with him in a way that used to be reserved for me. And I just stood there, frozen. I didn't yell. I didn't burst in. I just watched for a moment that seemed to stretch forever. Then something shifted inside me. Not rage. Not even sorrow. Something clearer. A strange clarity that this was the end. And maybe it was exactly what I needed. I pulled out my phone and captured a few pictures. Not out of revenge, but as proof. Proof to myself that I wasn't imagining this. That this nightmare was real. Then I backed away, walked through the garage, found a tool, and slashed the tires on that stranger's truck. Childish? Maybe. But at that moment, it felt justified. I got into my car and drove. I didn't know where I was headed. I just knew I couldn't stay. My vision blurred with tears and illness as I pulled into a clinic for some flu meds, then checked into a small motel. I didn't have the energy for a confrontation. I didn't even want to hear her voice. Beth called, again and again, but I let it ring. There was nothing left to discuss. The next morning, I called my workplace and told them I need a break. My body was battling a virus, but my soul was carrying something heavier. I contacted an attorney, pulled money from our joint account, and began separating my life from hers. This wasn't just a breakup. It was a reclaiming of who I was. 2 days later, I went back to the house. She was waiting in the kitchen, looking like a shell of the woman I once loved. Her eyes red, her voice trembling as she pleaded with me. "Can we please talk?" she whispered. I looked at her, and I didn't feel love. I felt nothing. "I don't have anything to say to you, Beth." I told her. I saw everything. "You made your choice." Tears streamed down her face. "It didn't mean anything. I messed up, Peter. I still love you." I shook my head. "You don't do what you did to someone you love. This isn't something you fix with apologies." She collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. "I need you. Please. I was just looking for something exciting. But I never wanted to lose you." I crouched down beside her, not to comfort her, but to be clear. "You lost me the moment you let him into our bed. I'm not angry anymore. Beth, I'm done." I went upstairs and began packing my things. She followed me, begging, crying, bargaining. But I was unmoved. The emotional wreckage she left behind was hers to deal with now. "It was just sex," she yelled at one point. "He didn't mean anything. You're the one I love." But her words were empty. I had trusted her with everything, and she'd thrown it all away. I left that day without looking back. The house, the marriage, the dreams we built, they were all part of life that no longer existed. Over the next few weeks, I stayed in that modest motel. I handed divorce papers to my attorney and officially resigned from my job. For the first time in years, I had no one to answer to. I was alone, but strangely I felt free. That freedom led me to something unexpected. Her name was Morin. Bright red hair, eyes that looked like they'd seen storms, yet still held sunlight. We were introduced by mutual friends at a small gathering, and from the moment we spoke, something clicked. She, too, had known betrayal. Her story mirrored mine in many ways, and in each other we found a quiet comfort, a peace that didn't demand anything, just presence. Day by day, I found myself healing, letting go, and growing into someone new, someone better. One morning, as we stood on a ridge overlooking a quiet valley, I realized something profound. That pain, Beth's betrayal, had been a door, not to despair, but to transformation. I never would have chosen that path. But now, standing beside someone who knew my scars and still chose me, I was grateful. Grateful for the heartbreak. Grateful for the collapse. Because without it, I never would have built this new, beautiful life. Sometimes, the worst thing that ever happens to you is actually the best thing that ever could.